The Pope's groundbreaking law on abuse will be felt throughout the global church. In many ways, they are based on the work first begun in the United States through the 2002 Dallas Charter for the Protection of Children and Young People. Joining us to talk more about the connections is the national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, Christopher White. So, Christopher, now that we have this document, where exactly do we go next?
Well, look, this document really says that no one in the church has an excuse for not reporting abuse. And so it establishes a sort of a level playing field that all Episcopal conferences around the world now have to go back and implement. So the Pope's giving them a tight deadline. He said, by this time next year, we're going to come back and you're going to be held accountable. And so that's really the ground floor. And it also extends beyond just abuse of minors to the abuse of power. And so even those bishops around the world that have guidelines in place have to go back and make sure their guidelines reflect the abuse of power as well.
Speaking about those guidelines, how do these new norms differ from what the U.S. bishops put into place with the Dallas Charter?
Well, the Dallas Charter is really considered the gold standard from around the world as sort of offering best practices. So it builds on the Dallas Charter in many respects. Now, the difference is the Dallas Charter does not have a framework for bishop accountability, which is widely seen as the next step, which this document offers a skeleton for.
Now, we know our bishops are going to meet in June. How might this affect the plans for that meeting?
Well, this document provides a framework for what the bishops hope to enact come next month. And so the sort of framework is that it relies on what's called the metropolitan model, which basically relies on the metropolitan bishop to investigate cases of abuse alongside a lay review board. Now, the specifics of that are still getting worked out, but there is a framework in place that the U.S. bishops can go on from here.
So, Christopher, I think the biggest question is, how are sex abuse survivors and their advocates reacting so far?
Well, I think it's important to say that this document has been widely acclaimed as sort of the most serious document to come out from the church in its history on sex abuse for providing a global framework. And a lot of survivors and survivor advocates have said this is a huge step forward. But they've also said, look, it's not enough. We still have to take into account greater roles for lay leadership, and we still have a lot of work to do with defining the relationship between the church and civil authorities. So a step in the right direction, but just that.
So moving forward. All right, Chris, thank you so much.
Thanks, Michelle.